All right, welcome back to the My Homies podcast, which is a little play on words here, where I bring you my friends in real estate that are out there selling homes. So today I got a good buddy of mine that I met a couple years ago from the North Delaware area. I'll let him get into specifics, but Neil, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, my man?
Casey, thanks so much for having me, bro. I didn't realize that there was a play on words there, but I guess I do sell homes, so I am a homie, right?
Yep.
Awesome, brother. Thanks for having me on the show, man. I'm Neil Douen. I run the home-based team with eXp Realty. I service all of Newcastle County, a little bit of Kent, that's Delaware, and then I also do Pennsylvania as well. So Chester, Delaware County, a little bit of Montgomery. I've been doing this for about 10 years now, man, and
wow,
loving it.
I'm trying to remember, we met a couple years ago. We did that boat cruise out of Chesapeake City. I think that was the first time I met you.
Yep. Asciano, yeah, he put that together. Shout out to Jim.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Jim. He's actually connected me with so many people. He's a great dude. I got to get him on here. I sent him an invite. He hasn't booked it yet, so I got to get him on here.
Jim's a cool guy, man. Yeah, that's exactly where we met. And all the nation's lending guys over there.
And then we didn't really reconnect. I'm trying to remember. We probably didn't reconnect after that for maybe another year or so.
Probably. I lose track of time, man. So,
yeah. You got a lot going on. You're a busy guy.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that, that I just want to mention that was you were somebody I wanted to reconnect with, because even that first interaction we had on this boat cruise, right, where everyone's just hanging out and just kind of making introductions, I could just see that you thought big, you know what I mean? And I appreciate that, because I'm the same way. And it was not as much, some people are getting real estate and they just want to show houses and they want to do a couple deals a month. It might be a part-time thing for them, or it might be just, something like a hobby almost.
Yeah.
But I could see that you were about more than that. You created the home-based team. And I'd like to ask you about that too while we're online. I know I have a little bit of background, but where did the home-based team come from?
So that's actually a little play on words as well as an acronym. So the base is actually the buying and selling experts. And I can't take credit for that. I got to give it to my wife. So we were sitting down here one day kind of brainstorming, and I'm trying to think of a catchy name, catchy phrase to try to, brand myself. Because in real estate, you really don't want to brand yourself to the brokerage. Neil Douen with eXp, okay, that's what everybody's doing. How do you set yourself apart really and kind of create your own brand? So I was I need to create a brand. I don't really want it to be about me. I want it to be about the clients that I serve. And my wife was thinking, and she's I got it. The home-based team. She's it's a safe place to be. You always come back to your home base. I serve a lot of veterans. I don't know if you knew that, Casey, but I serve a lot of veterans. So the base, BASE, is buying and selling experts.
I love it. So credit to her for coming up with that. And we might have to enlist her help on the next thing that we got going on.
She's good at these things.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I remember you telling me that story, and I'm I never picked up on the base part, but just home base, is so important, right? Because people buy this house. Well, to us, it's a house, because we deal with this all the time. But then, when you really put it in perspective, they're buying the place where they're going to raise their family, where they're going to, like you said, come back to home base, where they're going to go through these life experiences that we don't even know what they're going to be. They don't even know what they're going to be, but it's just so important. And I think that home base just really ties that all together. So I love that, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny how that played out, because at that point in time when I came up with the name, or my wife came up with it, I wasn't serving veterans at the time. But then when I started serving veterans within the last 2 to 3 years, because I've been in business for 10 years now. So last 2 to 3 years kind of gravitated, because that's another thing I wanted to talk about really is you got to find a niche. What I realized in my time being in real estate and just kind of going through the motions and doing a little bit of buyers, a little bit of sellers, you're doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I service everyone. At that point in time, I'm working with first time home buyers. I'm working with folks that are upgraded and downgraded, and then on all walks of life, all different jobs as well. But when I really started focusing on a niche and saying, hey, I have a passion for working with veterans. I feel as though they're underserved and they do a lot for our country. So my service to them is getting them into a great home, or being able to sell their home and give them the greatest service ever. So it just worked out that the home base is usually where somebody that served in the army or in the Navy, when they come back home, it's home base, I
love that. And here's a good point that you just brought up. And this is for maybe other agents out there that are tuning in, and for mortgage people and anybody in sales. Having a niche is important, but when you got a niche, a lot of people think if I niche down that I'm going to lose all these other customers.
Absolutely not.
You're not you're saying, well, because I specialize in working with veterans, that doesn't mean I don't work with first time home buyers, or that I don't list houses for other people that aren't veterans. But I think that's a very important point there, that you want to have a niche to help brand yourself. However, you're not going to lose other business. It's not like you're saying, hey, if you're not a veteran, I'm not working with you.
Correct.
So I think that's important for everyone.
Absolutely.
Take us back a little bit. So your backstory, what you did before you got got into real estate, how you got into real estate. Take us back a little bit to young Neil.
Woo, that's a long story.
How much time we got?
I'm gonna give you the helicopter high level overview of that. So I came to the US in 2002 as an international student. So went to Goldie Beacom, shout out to Goldie Beacom, big alumni. So graduated with a degree in marketing management. And from there, it was like sales job after sales job. I'm talking about Verizon wireless sales. I did door-to-door canvassing for a while, Bank of America, did some phone sales, you name it. And then the last thing I did before getting into real estate was actually driving tractor trailers. So I got my CDL with the intention of learning the business and then maybe acquiring a couple trucks and then starting a trucking business. Got into the business, got hired, and then quickly realized that that business is like super tough and like it's just dog eat dog world. So quickly realized that it's probably something I wouldn't want to get into and started looking around, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should get my real estate license part-time and kind of transition into that. Well, as things would have it, about 2.5 years, I would say, into driving tractor trailers, I got injured on the job. And I couldn't go back to work, had no choice. And at that point in time, it was just like, what do you do? Got my real estate license, jumped into it full time. It was 10 years ago and never looked back. So that's the high level overview right there. Yeah. It's been amazing. Nothing happens before it's time. It was a God sent thing to me. It was God calling me. This is my calling, you know. I love serving people. I love interacting with people. Generally, people are like, Neil, how do you network so good? You know, like, how do you do it? And I'm like, look, I'm genuinely curious about other people. Guess what other people like to do? Talk about themselves, you know? That's the one thing you would learn when doing sales is like, if you want to make somebody comfortable with you, you got to let them be able to talk. So you have to be good at asking open-ended questions, getting them to talk. The more they talk to you, the more comfortable they feel. I'm curious in general. Like, I'm always asking like, hey, what do you do? How do you do it? Like,
yeah, you know, that's really God-given as well, right? Like that ability and that it's genuine to you and it comes natural to you. And I'm the same way. And people are like, you know, I get this a lot. Like, you just seem so genuine. And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm being myself. Is that genuine? I guess it comes off like that. But it's like people saying, well, like, how do you show that you care about other people? Well, you just care about them. And then it shows itself, you know. There's no like, it's not a secret thing. Like, how do you seem interested in people? I'm interested in them. I don't know. But I think you found a perfect career. And you know, it's funny too in sales because I also did other sales jobs. I was a sales rep for Sherwin-Williams paint. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm gonna love this because I'm out there. I'll be out there on the road, you know, not confined to an office. I'll be talking to contractors and painters, and I'll be able to, you know, provide them a great service. And I hated it. I don't know what it was. I did not like being out there like I thought I would. But that doesn't mean I wasn't cut out for sales. You know, it's just I had to find my niche really in sales. And you know, I found that building those relationships like I do now with, you know, realtors like yourself and, you know, just different professionals in the industry, the homeowners, I'm able to connect with them. And I think you found something obviously that works for you in real estate. Like, what do you love about real estate? Because you could sell anything, right? I mean, you have this natural way about you, but wait, what do you love about real estate? What keeps you hooked with that?
You know what? I like that every transaction's different. Not any two transactions are never the same. Like, I always learn something going forward. And as I said, I've been doing this for 10 years and I still am learning. I'll never say that I know it all. Take, for example, right now, I'm going through a transaction right now where the home has, I'm representing a buyer and the home has a well. And we had a well test done and we ordered the well test and the lender sent us the requirements, what they wanted to see on there as far as like the EPA, you know, standards. So I sent it to the home inspector like, hey, we need a well test done. I'm thinking you're the professional in that field. You should know what the EPA standards are and what you should be checking for. Come to find out now, they just did a couple of the tests, missed a couple, and you know, then we had to keep going back and forth. You had to go take another sample, all this other jazz. So I'm like learning. So I'm like, this part of my process. I have to make sure that anybody I give this to has to have these things and know that these are the things we're looking for in the well test. And anyway, so that's what I'm saying. It's all different. It's all a challenge to me. I love a challenge. If nothing's challenging me, then it's boring. So not to say sometimes I could do without some of these challenges that we have, you know, where folks are freaking out and stuff is going all haywire. I just love it because it's different. It's not the same thing every day. We love the flexibility of it as well. Real estate's 100% commission, so you eat what you kill, and I like to eat a lot, so you know.
Gotta hunt.
We gotta kill a lot. Yeah, we gotta hunt. So yeah, it's just awesome. I love being flexible, so I could be at my kids' events. They have field trips, they have plays at school, anything they have, awards or in the middle in the day, I'm there. You know what I mean? And I got pictures to prove it. I'm there for everything.
That was actually my main driver too, to getting back in the mortgage business. Was my daughter was 1 at the time, and I was driving for an insurance company I worked for. I was leaving the house at like 6 a.m. I would get back at 7 at night. And I'm like, so I didn't see her in the morning, or if I did, it was for a very short time. At night, I would see her, I would sit down, we would have dinner, she would go to bed. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing this. You know, I had my brother in the mortgage business, his friends that I knew very well, and they're at every one of their kids' games, they're coaching their teams, at every awards thing, they're driving them to school, picking them up from school. And not to say that it doesn't come with a lot of, you know, responsibility outside of like the 9 to 5, you know, whatever you want to call it, the core hours, but it gives you that freedom to be there for them. And that was really, I'm like, I'm doing that. So I left my job to make this a career for the same reason.
Absolutely, brother.
So you touched on a couple things outside of work that you're into. Give us just a quick rundown, like some of the hobbies that you and your kids get into and some of the things that you do outside of real estate.
Big into soccer. Growing up, I never was a big fan of like watching soccer. So don't ask me who my favorite team is, because I already don't have a favorite team, but I just enjoy playing the sport. So played for my high school, got out here. I was asked to play for Goalie Beacon, but I just couldn't because I had responsibilities. I had to work and take care of myself. So I do coach soccer now. My daughter jumped up, I think it's like 2 years ago, almost 3 now, all out of the blue, and just said, hey, I want to play soccer, because I was trying to get my son to play. He wasn't into it at all. So she jumped up and said she wanted to play. I was coaching him for a little while, and she said, well, you got to coach my team. So that started with Concord Soccer. So I've been coaching with Concord Soccer in North Wilmington for maybe close to 6 years now, I would say 5 or 6 years, because I started with him. He's 10. He probably started like around 5, and he just stopped like last year. And then so I started coaching her, and then she's in middle school now, and she made the team last year, and they had a coach that was like a teacher that just did it because she had to do it. So she was like, they opened the position up. Obviously the teacher didn't want to do it again. She didn't like it. She didn't know what she was doing. So they opened the position up in the school district, and she said, you gotta be the coach. You gotta be the coach. So I was like, man, that's a big commitment. Like, it's every day from like 3:15 to 4:45. Then they got games, you know, you gotta be there at 2 o'clock. You gotta ride the bus, all this other stuff. I was like, I don't think I could be the coach. So I talked to one buddy of mine who's also in the district here, and he coached with me in Concord. He said, I'll be the main coach. He's like, could you be the assistant? You know, because he's like, I know what you do. You sell real estate. If you got to move, you got an appointment, I could cover for you. I was like, sure. I was like, sign me up. So assistant coach at Tally Middle School in North Wilmington. The main coach at one of the main coaches at Concord Soccer. So coaching 2 teams. Besides that, dude, like we just like traveling, you know, we like going to the beach and just having fun. And summertime is our best time. You know, my wife's a teacher, so in the summertime we're going everywhere. We love camping.
Yeah.
Anything outdoors, we love it.
Love it, man. We kind of vibed on that too, because we're the same way with our family. It's like, you know, we're at the beach or on the boat or hiking or some of that. We haven't got into camping yet, so I might have to pick your brain on that, how to get into it. What advice would you give? So the market right now, you've been in the business 10 years. The market's a little different than it's been in the last 10 years. What advice would you give to somebody that has to move right now, but they're like, what, do I buy a house? Do I not buy a house? Like, what's your take on the market, and what advice would you give?
So I'll tell you what, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there just now when you say if you had to move. I think those are the folks that are actually moving right now, the ones that have to move. There are a lot of folks that would like to move, and maybe they're already in a house and they want to upgrade, or let's say maybe they want to downgrade. They're kind of sitting tight right now. The biggest obstacle for them, I see, is the low interest rate that they already have on their home, and to move away from that and go to something that's double, you know, or higher than what they have now is a little bit of a challenge for them. So the folks that are buying right now, I think, are the folks that have to move, whether it be like they're renting and they have to move into somewhere else, you know, maybe the landlord's selling their house or the rent's going up, they have to move, they're jumping into the market. So there's a pent-up demand for homes right now, and there's just a shortage of inventory, and that's what's causing the higher prices as well. It's supply and demand, basic economics. So I mean, I would say you can't really time the market. You could never time the market, so it doesn't make any sense. If you need to buy because your rent's going up, or let's say you had another child and you run out of space and you need that bigger house, buy now. Like, you can't wait. You can't time the market. It's impossible. The rates are not always going to be this high, and they're not even historically high. They're higher than what we had before, but it's still a great time to buy, get in, and then later on when interest rates come down, you could refinance. Oh, I've been in my house for like, I don't know, 12 years now, and I refied twice. And you know the rule of thumb, if you could go down at least 1 percentage point and you're going to stay in your house for at least another 3 years, it'll probably make sense to refi. If you're thinking about selling selling within 3 years and it's not less than a 1% that you're going down, then you might want to think about it. It's probably not a great idea.
I just had the same conversation with someone last week. I kind of told him the same thing. I said, it always seems expensive when you buy your house. I don't know any person that ever bought at any time when the market was, the market was lower, the rates were lower, houses were cheaper, all of that stuff. When we bought our first house, like we paid $210 and the rates were 3 3.75. It still felt expensive then.
Sure.
But then when you look back after, 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years, you look back at that, it's like, man, that was cheap, because it's always going to be cheaper today than it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years from now. So I think just keeping that perspective in people's mind that whenever you buy, it's always cheaper than it's going to be tomorrow and down the road. It's like the whole thing, like, when's the best time to plant a tree? The best time is 20 years ago, and the next best time is now.
No, exactly.
You want to share with us maybe something that pops in your mind as like a proud moment that you've had, or like maybe an accomplishment you've had in real estate, or maybe the proud moment that you had helping a customer. But what pops in mind when I ask you that, like your most proud moment in real estate?
I hit the Icon Award at EXP my second year there.
Let's
It's
go.
something I wanted to do in my first year, but I ended up hitting it on my second year. And I was like, I told myself, I said, if I hit it once, I'm gonna keep hitting it again. On my third year that I just made, I missed it by one unit. That was a little hardcore. But basically, it's if you sell a certain amount of homes with EXP, they reward you by giving you back $16,000 worth of stock, company stock, as an award. It's one of the main reasons why I moved my business a little while ago. So it's something that has been on my radar, and I was like, I'm gonna hit that award. I thought I was gonna do it my first year, but couldn't get it done. Second year, I got it done. So
nice. And what year did you move to EXP?
I'm in my third year right now.
Okay, 30. Okay, got it.
I'm in my third year right now.
Nice. I want to jump to one other thing, or maybe two other things, if we have time here. But so your team, right? You have home-based team. What advice do you give your team, or would you give any other agent? Maybe somebody that's just starting out there, who just got their license and they're coming into this market. They're like, I don't know what to do, right? This is harder than I thought it was going to be. What advice would you give other agents out there?
This would probably be the best time to come in. The folks that came in during COVID, I've spoken to a couple of those agents. They don't know what's going on.
Because it was so easy when they jumped in.
It was so easy when they jumped in. Stuff was falling in their lap. Now it's like, what do I do? Like, how do I get clients? That's what they're saying now. How do I get clients? Because right now, I guess it's seasoned agents that are getting the business, because we know how to get the business. You have to go out there and get it. It doesn't fall in your lap. A lot of these agents that were buying these Realtor.com leads and Zillow leads, they're struggling too, because it's a lot of crap that they're getting basically. So the advice I would give is that, real estate is a relationship type business. The more relationships you make, the better you're going to be, the more business you're going to have. So just get out there and talk to people. That's how I do it. I mean, I don't know any other way to do it. Have conversations. And a lot of folks are like, I was talking to this one young lady a couple of days ago that got into the business during COVID. And she was like, well, when you go to these networking events, as soon as you tell people that you're a realtor, they're like, oh, here we go again. Another one of these people. They're trying to sell me something, I was like, well, I mean, how are you figuring that out? Like, I mean, when I go to networking events, I'm not going and be like, hey, I am Neil. I'm a real estate agent. I'm introducing myself as Neil, and then, we'll just flow with the conversation. And usually in between that conversation, I'm generally curious. I'm going to say, hey, well, what do you do, for a living, And they tell me what they do. And I said, if I want them to ask me what I do, which most of the times I do, I'll just stop right there. Once they tell me what they do, if I just stop asking questions, I just told him what I did. I'm going to ask him what he did, what he does, and they'll generally want to know what you do. So it's not like the first thing that you lead with is go in there and be like, hey, Neil, I'm a real estate agent. How can I get, how can I sell your house, So it's just general conversations that you never know. I met somebody in the sauna the other day. They were just sitting on the sauna and we'll just start chatting or whatever. Come to find out, he's an older gentleman, lives by himself in a big house in North Wilmington. And he's like, yeah, I've been thinking the market's been really good. I've been thinking about selling my house and, moving to the beach. Shoot, I'll come take a look at that house. Got his phone number in the sauna, set up an appointment, went to his house, talked to him. He's probably not going to be ready anytime soon. He's just like thinking about it, but still, now he's in my database. Now I have a relationship with him. I've been to the house before. Now I'm going to start sending him regular contact until he's ready.
Yeah.
But it's just that simple. I mean, might sound simple to me, but I mean, that's just all it is. Meet people. have conversations and genuinely want to help people. Because I mean, the conversation I even started, so what's making you want to move? Why do you want to move? Oh, well, I'm in this house by myself. I can't take care of it. Deferred maintenance in the house, all the stuff we're talking about. And then I was like, okay, this guy seems like he really needs to move. Mm-hmm. I see that need. How can I help with that need?
I think that's it too. It's just having the conversations. And look, I talk to a lot of people too, and it always comes up what I do. It always does. And I don't know if that's like, I guess it's intentional to a point, but it's like, if you're having a conversation, that's just something that comes up, right? So the more conversations you have, it's going to come up with more people. It's going to unlock more opportunities. I want to ask you one more thing and then we'll wrap up, but you're a person too that takes care of yourself, your body, your health. What are your thoughts on that and like how important that is and how it trickles into other parts of your life?
Well, my hashtag is health is wealth, brother. Health is wealth. I tell my wife this all the time. We always have this discussion. The number one thing that you have in life is your health. You could have all the money in the world, and if you are unhealthy, you can't spend that money. Like, you'll probably end up spending it on healthcare, trying to keep yourself alive. And don't get me wrong, that's something I just kind of realized in the last few years. I haven't really been like a health guy per se. I've always been like a slender built guy, and always been kind of out there like playing soccer and doing stuff. Never really was like an exercise guy, like, oh, let me go to the gym, let me try to eat healthier, let me do this. But it was like a few years ago, I just, because of some health reasons and some stuff that the doctor said to me, from regular blood tests and stuff, they're like, hey, you might want to watch your salt intake, you might want to this, so I'm like, all right, let me start getting into it. So it's become a habit now where I try to exercise on a daily basis, and it's just, you feel better, you get moving early in the morning, you get more stuff done, you be more productive. It helps everything else. You not only do you feel good, but you get more stuff done. So health is wealth, brother. You gotta be healthy to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Gotta be healthy to do it.
Love that, man. That's been such a common theme with myself and just the people that I surround myself with lately. It's just like the health thing. It's so important. So I'm glad you got on the path.
You were a little bit overweight too. I never met you at that when you were like I saw some pictures. I didn't know you when you were like, a little bit heavier and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, mine was like a doctor scare too. I went to the doctor one time and they were like, he's like, do you know how much you weigh? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, like 215, 220. He's like, you're 248. Ooh. And I'm like, there's no way. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's right here. Like, you stepped on the scale, dude. You're 248. He's like, you got to cut some weight. So that's what started it for me. And I dropped, a good amount of weight since then. And then when my dad passed away, that was another wake up call for me. That was in 2019 because he was a slender built guy too. He wasn't like, a big guy by any means, but what was going on inside here, he ended up having a heart attack. And I'm like, man, I don't want to leave my kids or grandkids, future grandkids early. I want to be here and be for them. So that's what drives me now. And yeah, it's good to hear. And like I said, for me to be surrounded with other people like yourself that find that important.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. That drives me too. When I think about my kids and wanting to be there for my grandkids and that kind of stuff too, that definitely drives me in the morning. When I hit that snooze button a couple times, I'm like, let's go.
Any closing thoughts or words you want to share?
I'm really honored to be on here because this is my first podcast. So I hosted a little one during COVID, but I wouldn't say that was anything big. But it's my first podcast I was invited to, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I don't know, man, just greatness, brother. Greatness and abundance. Everybody, there's enough for everyone out there. So don't ever think from a mind of scarcity. Think from a mind of abundance. There's enough out there for everyone. So go get yours. I always say, like, people say, oh, how do you get so lucky? Or people get lucky. It's not luck. It's readiness meeting opportunity. So be open to the opportunity and just accept it. It's there. Just accept it.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. I appreciate you. I look forward to doing things with you down the road here. And I think you're a natural with the podcast. You might have to get another one up and running or get yourself on some other shows because you're just a genuine dude, man. And it comes across. So I think people will really appreciate that. And hopefully this will help other people. If you're looking I'll end with this. If you're looking in the northern Delaware area, so like, Wilmington, the Tallyville, Newark even, but then up into southeastern Pennsylvania as well, give Neil a call, reach out. I'll make sure we get all your contact information on the podcast. So if anybody finds this and is looking in that area, they can reach out to you for questions.
Appreciate it. Just Google me, Neil Douen, Realtor. Just Google it. Home base.
There it is. All right. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Casey. Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Talk soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.